I went by them.
Yep.
Actually drove by their place. It's kind of just down the road a few miles.
Get some really nice hemlock out of there.
I get hemlock at Parker Lumber.
All right, you guys are live.
Real good luck with that.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Lots of hydraulic lines and stuff. I take it everything's getting ready for winter.
Exactly.
Although I was tempted to ask about resetting the breaker.
Oh, on the toilet,
I don't know.
the plumbing in the garage.
Is
Mike,
that what it was?
you've had this. Everybody's so.
I don't know. I just said reset breaker.
Was it the HD read bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the plumbing in the garage, and I asked Troy, he said that he had done all that, and he wasn't here when they came by, so he didn't have a chance to ask them.
Oh,
I think it was more than that, but like,
okay.
I agree, it seems like we should have been able to do that ourselves, but
Wasn't that much. I wasn't gonna.
Yeah, I've got 5 o'clock. I was just looking at that. That clock must be a little bit behind. All right, I have 5 o'clock. Call the meeting to order today, Monday, October 5th, 2020. Roll call, Selectman Mike Mansalilli, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, and Town Manager Chris Saunders. And Howdy has called in and told me that he could not make this evening's meeting. So
Make a motion to excuse Eddie Goodman.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to excuse Howdy Goodwin from tonight's meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, adoption of agenda. Anything anyone would like to change on the agenda? All right, approval of minutes. We have the minutes from September 21st and also the minutes from September 28th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 21st, 2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from September 21st, 2020. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 28th, 2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of September 28th, 2020. Can you approve, is it okay if Katie does if she wasn't there? I just had to think.
Mackenzie.
I'm Mackenzie, I'm sorry, I just.
I can make a motion, I just don't vote.
Okay,
That's fine.
I'll second-
All right.
Second if it hasn't been.
okay, yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All right, all those, any discussion? All those in favor?
I'll
Mackenzie's
abstain.
abstaining. All right, approval of warrants. We have warrant 26 for $8,405.95, 27 for $9,038.41, 28 for $6,677.45, 29 for $8,894.15, warrant 30 for $44,613.72.
I make a motion to approve warrants 26 through 30.
Second.
been moved and seconded to approve warrants 26 through 30. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Let's see. Committee appointments. Put that under committee appointments, Chris. I didn't even notice that. Anyhow, we have Jessica Bass here from the rec board to discuss some things that we possibly could do to help the rec board have more attendance. Yeah.
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Jessica.
well, thank you for hearing me out. But it's been, I think 2 years that I've been on there and we've been failing to meet any kind of regular meetings whatsoever. For any guidance or suggestions on how to move forward since I've exhausted everything that I know to do, including going door to door to the rec board members and asking them to show up. So any suggestions would be greatly appreciated.
The one thing I've heard is serve food.
Sarah.
Seriously. I'm on
Are you
a,
telling me I have to cook now too?
well, just have everyone bring something. Actually, it helps. I've got one meeting I do back before the virus, and that's what we used to do. And, everyone bring a dish and it makes, and you spend a little time
Yeah.
having
And
a
I'm
conversation.
all for that, but I
Yeah.
can't even get that level of communication to my members.
Is it just you two?
No, there's 2 other individuals.
And there's one vacant spot right now.
Yeah,
Right.
just one vacant spot.
Yeah.
They don't get paid anything, do they, Chris?
Your board's not unique in that. We've got several boards that don't even exist anymore because we can't get a quorum.
And that's kind of where we're at with it,
Yeah.
continuing to exhaust my own time again and again, just to not have members show up whatsoever. It's kind of a waste of my time, but I don't want to give up on it because, I have 2 small children and I think we can do a lot. And I'm willing to put the time into it, but I just, in theory, need that vote quorum.
That's, having something to eat when you're there is the only thing I've ever seen that seems to make a difference these days. Pick up a platter.
I guess I
Okay.
can serve them, but I have to
Yeah.
get them there.
Yeah.
And I'm not even, I don't have email address for a couple of them. And sometimes I don't even have phone numbers that way.
Yeah, I think that I've talked to a few people about this, and I think more people would be apt to be involved more if they didn't have to sign up for a 3-year period. I think that's huge for a lot of the parents and stuff. If they, Mackenzie, now that is, if you sign on for
3
something
years is a commitment.
and you say,
yeah.
well,
Yep.
I'd try it for a year. Worst you're gonna do is not like it and give it up. I'm not a huge fan of having a 1-year term, but then again, I would like to see something happen so that the rec board functions and actually can survive or get back going, growing, or however you want to put it.
Could we reach out to like Sarah Hinckley from the Islander and just see if she could, rec board, trying to recruit members, see if she could write a little article on what the rec board is, what they do, and they need help?
Can I just?
Yeah,
do that?
go.
We only have 1 vacant spot and I can fill that. I know that there's people who are willing to do it, but it still doesn't help me with the members that I cannot get a hold of. And I can't, and not to get a quorum. So that we can have plenty of people say, hey, I want to do it. Because there are a few people who are willing to do it. It's the 3-year commitment that is a huge deterrent. But then I still have members that currently are on the board that I cannot get a hold of.
Can we help her with that? Can we send a letter or can we, just saying, look, this is the issue that you guys are having. Do you still want to be on the board? Are you willing to, do what's asked or what's needed? I don't know.
Jessica and I can have a conversation, and if there's, whatever particular members are having an issue, then I can try to reach out to them. I know one of the challenges that you have is that the bylaws state that if you miss a certain number of regular meetings, then you lose your spot. But if you're not having regular meetings because you can't get a quorum, then it's hard to trigger that issue.
Yeah.
So I think we can try to gently have that conversation with people, and maybe that would open up a vacancy for someone who's more reliable.
And maybe we ask them for their current phone numbers and email addresses and, you get a better.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've tried, but.
Yeah,
And most people ignore all of us anyways, so I mean, it's worth a shot.
I'm borderline harassing them because I'm showing up door to door, and I really don't want to continue to put myself in that position.
Have you considered, is it maybe a coronavirus related thing? They don't want to meet in person?
No,
No.
we have considered that. The biggest thing, a lot of them don't have reliable internet access too, so even if we were to try to meet during COVID, that wasn't really an option for some of our members. And then, we've had one meeting post-COVID, or, I know we're still kind of COVID, but, we've only been able to get one meeting. I just cannot get a response.
And how often do you typically meet? I guess that was the other question.
I think ideally it would be once a month, but
Once a month.
I've been on the board for 2 years and I've had 3 meetings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think the 1 year idea would help recruit people, or do you think that's not such a great idea? Just your honest opinion.
My honest opinion, I think it's worth a try. I mean, what we're doing isn't working with our current volunteers, so, I mean, we can try something else, but it's really just piquing the interest. And, I think, well, it's not even piquing the interest, because I know there's other people who will be willing, and I know I can get volunteers for events, but it's getting that vote, so I can say, hey, Chris, this is what the board wants to do. And that's the problem, is I don't have the board support.
If I can just speak to that, I think that, as far as like planning events, I think one option is have, you can just have an informal subcommittee. And, that might help they're not willing, they're unable to make a commitment for 3 years, but if they can plan a macro derby for a couple months, then they might be able to make that commitment. And if there's particular action that you need, you and I are in regular communication. A lot of times, it's wonderful if I can have a motion from the rec board, but if in the absence of that, you as the chair, I think I can rely on you for guidance. I mean, I know one of the things that we talked about is buying the grill.
Yeah.
And what kind of grill makes the most sense. It's under the purchasing threshold for the town. I, under my authority, can authorize you to purchase a grill.
So then at what point does the rec board just become an informal committee, and then there's no longer a board? So that way I'm not having to put agendas together.
I mean, it's ideally they are meeting, and so I mean that's I guess what we're talking about right now. But I'm just, I don't know the answer to the question.
Could they serve in like not like a board, but like a like advisory committee or something? Structure it different so she could just come to us and say, this is what I want to do.
I think they currently are an advisory committee. They're not, authorized to spend money on the town's behalf without consulting with me first.
Right. So
yeah.
Why not just downsize it to 3 people and try to invite everyone to show up. And that way it's an awful lot easier to get a quorum. And, where you're an advisory board anyway, I mean, that would kind of make sense to me. And, if there starts getting to be more interest, maybe increase the size of it again. But I mean, that would allow you to hold meetings.
I'm just a little confused as to what you mean by 3, because I've been just conducting we've only just now gotten Rick Smith last month.
Mhm.
So we've only been 3 people,
Okay.
and really it's only been 8. So I don't know what you mean by switch it back to 3.
Well, I mean, the board's 5, right? I mean, that's what it's
Yeah,
supposed to
Supposed
be.
to be, yeah.
Yeah.
There's 8.
But if you make the size of it 3, you can then 2 would be a quorum. You could actually hold a meeting with 2 people and make decisions.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't have more people functioning than that, maybe that's, a little more realistic.
And then how soon could we switch it to 5 again once we keep that interest?
I think that's just up to us with a vote, I believe. Where it's just an advisory committee.
From a legal standpoint, I
Exactly.
realize that this is feels so silly for an advisory board, but you have bylaws for rec boards. As long as people still have terms, unless they resign or violate the terms of the bylaws, there's not really a way to force them off.
Mhm.
And so I would be reluctant to advise you to do so.
But can you go
Well-
to those people that are not showing up and saying, look, you're kind of putting us in a situation. Do you want to be part of this?
Mhm.
If you don't, okay, that's fine too. You should, resign or whatever. And then maybe that's the way you would get it whittled down to 3 or whatever for now.
Like you had said, like some sort of letter, just going out to them, say, maybe we revisit it. We send a letter, figure out what we get for a response, and then revisit it in another meeting.
Because you do have some things that come up in the winter, like you guys do the ice skating rink and, I know with,
I mean, we haven't.
uh, town does that then.
Yeah.
Public Works,
Town
yes.
Public Works Department has been doing it. It is an open question as to whether we are going to do it this year for a variety of reasons.
Pretty tough for one-man crew to do it.
No,
That's one of the challenges. The liners continue to be an issue and they're just constantly leaking. And last winter it was so warm that it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
often having to be refilled because it would melt and then leak. And
Mhm.
Probably dig a pond cheaper.
no, I don't know. I still think that just the commitment, that would be one thing that I think would be huge to try to sell it to people, is just the 1 year. I mean, it might not work. Maybe it's more of a pain, Chris. You can tell me that on the legal point of view, but I can see reducing the members being hard or difficult, because of, if you already have 4 members currently, then you could, that could be hard. I'm just thinking, I mean, would there be any issue with shortening terms to 1 year to see if you brought on some new interest, or?
I think as a first step, what we could do is I could work on that. I could edit the bylaws and bring them back to you. And have, some more information on that. And in the meantime, I might also reach out to, I think, some of the more hard to reach members and confirm that they are still interested in being involved. And if they voluntarily resign, then that might make your life a little bit easier as far as amending bylaws.
I know you haven't had many meetings, so it's hard to say, but do you get many people from the public?
Yeah.
You do?
Well, not at the meetings, but there's plenty of people that I know that want to see us do things and that are willing to help out here and there, but it's that 3-year commitment that,
Well, that's,
and having them.
yeah, well, that's, again, I think that's one of the things that might be in favor of downsizing the board itself and just getting people to come in and help as they can, rather than making it a, ongoing commitment.
Right, as long as you can get volunteers for your events,
Yeah.
then it doesn't really, I mean, sure, the more members, the better, but if it's just 3 of you guys, you can decide and.
Well, I think that's a little bit of the problem that we're having is I'm expected to conduct meetings as if we're like a full high functioning board, and we're not. So, and that goes to play with the bylaws and getting agendas out. It's a waste of my time.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from, and I think it's, anything we can do to try to keep it functioning. That's the biggest goal, I guess.
So we can recap, what were the takeaway points? What are we gonna
Yeah.
what are we gonna do?
Feed them, feed them.
Yeah.
Feed them, yeah.
Kevin says
Yeah, we're
feed
gonna have
them.
to cook.
Honestly, it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have a barbecue.
Well, we need to grill first, so I need a vote for that.
I have in my notes, draft amendment to the bylaw to reduce the terms to 1 year and then have 3 members. And it would be, the rec board would sort of function along the lines of, let's say, our solar task force, where it's a 1-year term. And you just do it, and it seems to be working fine.
Yeah.
And then I have a guess on who one of your harder to reach members is. But you and I can talk and confirm that. And I can reach out to that person and see if I can confirm their.
They're all hard to read.
And I don't want to, I was going to say the one-year term thing was my thing. Do you guys think that's a good idea as well?
Yeah,
I don't
I do.
want to be.
Yeah.
You think so, Mike?
I think so,
Yep.
yeah.
And you might, if you shorten it, maybe you'll have a bunch of people who will just say, yeah, we'll try, because I know even Tricia said that she might do something if she could, but just not in an extended period. There's a lot of people that I've heard that have kids in school that just don't want to commit to doing 3 years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you get couple people who want to, I think you could fill that 5 probably pretty quickly. So,
Yeah, if that were, that'd be great.
yeah. No, if it does, I mean, it's worth a shot again.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, what we have going is not working, so we're not.
All right, so I'll work on that and bring it back to you at a later meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, on to regular business. We have tax acquired property.
Jamie, can I offer
sorry.
just one suggestion?
Yes,
Misha, Maitar, and Joe McLean weren't sure if they would be able to be here.
Yep.
Right at 5. They're
Mhm.
both now here. Item 4D,
yes,
if the board is okay, could we bump it up so we can?
okay. What we will do is put, put the letters of support for the Seal Cove Brook LY Habitat Restoration Grants ahead of A. We'll put that before A just to expedite things a little bit.
Is
Does
that
that
okay?
Sounds good to me.
sound good?
Fine with me.
All right,
Misha and Joe, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hi, everyone.
hello.
Hi.
I can
Oh,
hear
there,
you,
I
but
can
I will confess it is a little hard to hear. So I'll do my best to follow along.
Okay, thank you.
So speak up.
Chris, would you like to add anything into this that,
Yeah, I was just saying that you have in your packet a memo that Joe wrote about his nature like fish package design, and I want to thank Joe for the hard work that he did putting all that together. And Misha has been also instrumental in getting this to this point. And I think if it's the board's pleasure, I think it would be helpful to have Joe just give a quick overview of that that memo, and then Misha and I can sort of describe what the next steps are from here.
okay, that sounds good.
Well, great. Nice to meet you all tonight. The project you have out at Seal Cove is very interesting. Certainly, I'm coming into it here. I think after many people over the years have been trying to achieve fish passage there along that system, including park staff and other state and federal biologists as well. So what we've done here, working closely with Misha and Mako's Heritage Trust, is really try to do a big picture evaluation of how to achieve fish passage into Seal Cove Pond. It started with a targeted look at the dam itself, which is under your ownership. But it also, the more you peel the layers back of the onion, the more you realize there are potentially some other areas of concern as well. And looking, essentially there are 3 spots. There's the dam itself at the outlet of Seal Cove Pond. Downstream there, the stream gets quite steep through a series of ledge constrictions where there were the former dam located some time ago, also a parcel of land under control by the town of Tremont. So that stretch through there with former dams was concerning. In fact, when some of those dams blew out or were breached, there is anecdotal evidence as well as some good visual evidence down in the stream below that there was quite a bit of sediment that was conveyed from some of those dam breaches and ended up causing a third area of potential concern at the base, kind of where the stream starts to flatten out and starts to braid or have multiple channels, which is an indication of sediment discharges that potentially came from those former dams. So really, you'll see in that memo that there's a discussion of 3 basic locations: the dam itself, the steep ledgy portion of the stream below, as well as where the stream starts to flatten out, where all 3 of those places have different levels of difficulty for the fish to pass, all a result of human manipulation over centuries of damming and other work that's been done. But essentially all 3 of those areas have somewhat of a different strategy as well. Again, we started our project looking mostly at the dam itself, at the outlet pond, and we've advanced that nature like fishway up at the dam, we were looking at some similar stone weir improvements through the steeper stretch of stream down below. Again, there were former dams there. There's two places in particular that are extreme drops where there needs to be some kind of structure put back in place to improve efficacy. Now, I'll say that efficacy is just how well they work. Fish passage, many times people will say, does it have passage or does it not have passage? So unfortunately, it's not really that binary, if you will. There's normally a percentage of fish that can get through, and that's kind of what we talk about efficacy, what we're getting at. So we want to improve it. We want 80% of the fish to get through, or 90% of the fish to get through, kind of an easier time and a higher portion of the fish that are coming back. Right now, there are some fish getting back up and into Seal Cove Pond. There are some fish doing it, not a lot, but we had, U.S. Fish and Wildlife biologist came out and did some, not really diving, but he had a dry suit on and a mask and a snorkel and was really looking at all the little pools along the stream and was able to count a variety of fish, particularly the alewives. So we know that they're there, but just they're struggling. And so the improvements we're talking about are similar to, I would, you'd like them almost like ADA improvements for human beings. We're building ramps that allow the entire population to be able to get through in a meaningful way rather than just some of the extreme, perhaps most athletic or the ones that have the best timing for flow or whatever in this case. So some stone weir improvements in the steeper stream down below. And I think there's still further assessment to be done all the way down when we talk a bit about that third area where there's been some deposition, there's been some braiding in those streams. It can get very thin, the flow that is, because there are multiple channels. There can be some issues at low flow, and unfortunately we're seeing more and more low flow periods. It almost seems like with much more regularity here in the last decade. So I think Misha can probably talk more about the timeline on some of that, but I think that is something that is still being looked at. So, but what we prepared to date was kind of that big overview of those three locations with some solid engineering recommendations for the upper two at the dam and also along the steep part of the stream, which are largely on parcels of land that are under control of the town of Tremont. The lowermost section is entirely on land of the park, and again, I think there's still some more evaluation to be done down in that part. So that's a good overview, I'd say. I don't know, Misha, if you want to add anything more, or just want to open up the question.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, do you want me to kind of jump in just about what we're thinking in terms of next steps of the project, or do you want to pause for questions about Joe's work?
I think pause for questions first about Joe's work.
Joe, was it Joe that did the Pierce Pond? I know there were two in Brooksville you spoke about before, Misha.
Yes, I did Pierce Pond and White Pond up there. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't find White's Pond. No one local knew the other one, but I did find Pierce Pond one time. And it looks really good. I mean, you can tell it's not natural, but it looks really close. Yeah, and you're looking some.
It's too bad you didn't see White's Pond, because I think that White's Pond is actually going to be very, very similar to the aesthetic of this one. But I agree, it's a little more remote, and you have to know which road to turn down to find it. So I'm not surprised you couldn't. But I think that they're both very representative of the style of weir construction we're talking about.
Send directions, please. I'd kind of like to see if I get over that way again. Some time to go.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I think it's a great idea. And I mean, they do. I've seen pictures of what the work that was done in Damascotta too. And they look really good. And the fish can pass, which is the key thing.
Yeah, definitely needs some work. As of last time I was down there, there was blowdowns
Oh, that's a
in
mess,
there.
yeah.
It's, I mean, I can't even see how hardly any fish can get up through there. So, yeah, it definitely needs some work for sure.
Yeah.
I think beaver activity is one of the big challenges at that location, and Joe gave Misha a walkthrough of this information about a month ago, and I thought that was one of the major appealing features of the nature-like fish passage design almost it's so wide, it spreads it out so much that it's almost impossible for a beaver to dam up the whole thing the way that they can right now.
Yeah, no, it's a great point about the beavers, Chris. I mean, there are notches, if you will, and this is one of the challenges of fish passage in general, particularly when whether it's a structural fish passage or even a nature-like style that we're talking about now. There are smaller notches within the bigger weirs that are there to concentrate water when you're at really low flows. Because generally when you have a lot of discharge, you have a lot more of that weir engaged, and there's a lot more passable routes for the fish to come up. But during the really low flow periods, a lot of the flow kind of recedes this smaller notch in the center. And unfortunately, that little notch, is the size it is because there's sometimes really not a lot of water coming out of Seal Cove Pond. So it has to be somewhat of a smaller notch to get the density you need. But that notch is going to be susceptible to beavers. It's unfortunately going to be the attractive spot. Now, the beavers will impact this fishway less than the current concrete fishway, but ultimately there's very little in getting around some level of management when the beavers are there. And I say management being during the upstream passage season, needing to remove the debris periodically, or frankly trying to manage the beaver populations themselves, which could be, there's a lot of routes that can be taken there, but some level of beaver management is going to be required. I have to say probably no matter what type of ladder is put in place. Yeah.
Oh, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So before Misha jumps in with the next steps, I'll apologize. I thought I included the cost estimates of all of this, and it looks like I did not in the packet. So Joe has broken it down nicely as construction versus engineering, et cetera. There's sort of a wide range around it depending on how we go about it, whether we pick, Joe has worked with a particular contractor and has found a lot of success with that contractor, has a lot of experience building these. So if we went with that contractor, there would be much less engineering oversight, thus reducing the overall cost. But maybe there's some benefits to competitive bidding. It's hard to predict these things, and we don't need to make any decision along those lines tonight. It's just saying that the cost could fluctuate a lot. But sort of the upper end is around $270,000. I think is that about right?
That's right.
Okay. And so of course, no matter how we go about it, there absolutely has to be grant funding. There's no way that anyone is expecting the town to kick in that amount of money. And so that's one of the reasons it's on the agenda tonight is there are a couple grants coming up that provide, if we got both of them up to $100,000 just right there. And so I'll turn it over to Misha to talk about that aspect of things.
Right, and so that's a great summary. I think I've heard that, Chris. But basically, we have a project budget that would include a rough budget right now that would include the work both at the dam site, and at the lower site, and also include some more engineering and permitting. So we have a rough project budget, and we wanted to just pause at this point to update you, but also get some feedback from you about do you want us to go forward and try to pursue funding for this project? We're not asking for the town to commit any funding at this point. It's really just the last time we met, the question was, does this sound good for MCHG to look into this and do some planning? And so that's what we've done. At this point now, we have a plan that we could pursue. Should we try to line up the funding? And in order to do that, I want feedback about that, but realistically, we're also going to need letters of support from Chris with any grant application that we pursue. And there are a couple coming up right now, but there will be more over the course of this coming year. So the earliest that we would see any kind of project actually be implemented if we were able to line up funding for this would be the fall of 2021. In theory, we could work on both sites in one season. Realistically, realistically, I think we're probably, I would guess, we might be coming back and proposing, working in one of those two sites, either the dam or the steep channel. And right now there seems to be a preference from some of the other funders involved to start lower at that steep drop section that Joe described. So maybe trying to attack that in 2021 and then work at the dam the next year. So we don't have any specific plan or need any authorization about like starting work right now. It's more just, is this a good path? Should we be pursuing funding, including having Chris work with us on some letters of support to grant makers?
Misha, a lot of these, a lot of grants, I don't know if these do, but they look for a town match or something. What percentage is that usually?
A lot of these grants would look for, at least one of them that I'm looking at right now would require a match. In this case, it would be a 50% match.
Okay.
So, but there was a $50,000 grant, we would need $50,000 of matching funds. It doesn't necessarily need to come from the town. With that, we are also anticipating doing private fundraising for this project. So there's no requirement for a town match. I will say, having the town committed and on board, including, at some point putting some money to this project, goes a long way. I mean, the grant makers are going to want to see clear community support behind this project, but it's not a requirement for the town to come up with half the project budget or anything like that.
Misha and I have been discussing what the town contribution could be, and this is very much a ballpark, but I have a note for my FY22 budget preparation to just stick in $10,000 into the Seal Cove Fishway Reserve Fund, which already exists. And I won't know until I get much farther along in the budget process whether that is feasible, but that's sort of my placeholder right now, and we'll see, in the winter when we're doing that, whether it'll ultimately be up to you whether that stays in there.
That sounds like a realistic number to start with, Misha. Okay.
Yeah, and we've been brainstorming about, private fundraising in addition to multiple grant sources. So this is really just the beginning, but I certainly wouldn't want to go out there and talk to potential donors to a project like this without the town feeling like, on your land, that this is a project that you're interested in pursuing. So in addition to, having Chris authorized to write letters of support, this seemed like an important time to update you on the work that's been done. We're having similar meetings with the park because they're also a landowner. They've been right along with us, but now that we have the plans, we're sharing those with the Park Service and having similar conversations with them as well.
I'd just like to say, I'm sure they probably reached out to you, but some people had reached out to me last year in regards to, when this project was starting, contributing, sounded like a pretty substantial amount of money. I have their information somewhere in my email, but I can make sure that you get that, or that Chris gets that, really. Because they were very, very interested. They live in Seal Cove. They have a summer residence here. Very interested in contributing. They sound like a pretty large sum of money to making that happen.
Let's make sure I'm talking to the right people then. Thank you.
In fact, let's see if I can.
Damer Scudder started doing an L.Y. festival. There's a project for the rec board.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm 100% behind it.
Yes.
And, if a financial commitment from that level from the town would make a difference, please try to find the money.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I think it's a great thing, and whatever we have to do to support you, and just let us know. I think that something needs to happen with that. It has been run down for quite a while,
I
and
agree.
we keep talking about it, and it definitely needs some work sooner than later, for sure.
I do still, I actually, somehow I must have got your email from somebody and I gave that to them. This was back in 2018. So I'll send them a refresher and just let them know to contact you directly.
Yep, that's great. You can contact me directly or through Chris, whatever works.
Okay. I make a motion to authorize the town manager to provide letters of support for grant applications for construction at Seal Cove Brook to restore alewife habitat.
Second.
It's Been moved and seconded to authorize the town manager to provide letters of support for grant applications for construction at Seal Cove Brook to restore the LY habitat. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
That was 100%, Misha.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to working on this more, and thank you for accommodating the virtual link. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for all your time and efforts.
Thank you, Misha.
Right. All right, now let's go to, under regular business A, tax acquired property. Chris, would you like to bring us up to date on this?
Well, we received payment from the delinquent property taxpayer.
Mhm.
And I provided as a handout for tonight, the municipal release deed that was drafted up by our attorney. And so if you're comfortable with signing this, then I would recommend doing so.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve and sign the municipal quitclaim release deed for properties located on map 11, lot 12C and 12C1 on the 2008 Tremont tax map.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve and sign the municipal quitclaim release deeds for properties located on map 11, lot 12C and 12C-1 on the 2018 Tremont tax maps. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question. That included
Yes.
this year also?
Yes.
So, okay, great.
Current on your taxes.
Completely. Yep.
Great.
That's great. All those in favor?
When I pass this out, you'll notice the way that James Collier formatted it. It looks like it's just Jamie signing, but on the back, there's room for the rest of you. So that's the way it is in here. So just look on the back for your name.
Okay. All right, next is the personnel policy. I know we had talked at one of our previous meetings about the flexible spending accounts, and you also had a couple other items that you would like to add in, or you had for suggestions.
Yeah, it's been about 3 years since the personnel policy was updated. Jan Sprague, our bookkeeper, has been, is the one who deals with the policy most because she comes up, runs into issues with it as she's processing payroll. So I've asked her whenever she finds an issue, just to make a note of it, and then once we get to a revision, then to do it rather than making minor changes constantly, because that can be a big hassle. So she's been keeping that list, and I bullet pointed the most substantive ones. You'll see that there's a number of other smaller ones. It's like, for example, life insurance. There's basic and supplemental life insurance, and so I added the word basic so it was clear that we're not offering. So those ones I didn't mention in here. But the ones that I did mention that are more substantive, I can go through individually here. So the first one is temporary employees currently are not entitled to paid holidays. So if it's a temporary employee who, let's say, is working for a specific period of time, for example, say from November 1st through May 1st, as we had last year with a snowplow driver, that temporary employee, the office would be closed, no one would be here on Christmas, and so he couldn't reasonably come to work and on Christmas Day, nor would I feel comfortable asking him to come to work on Christmas Day, but also he wasn't getting paid, and I just think that it would be nice to be able to pay those people for those holidays.
Mhm.
I don't want to necessarily offer sick time or leave time for them, but paid holidays, I think is reasonable. Domestic partners currently are not eligible for health insurance. Domestic partners does have a specific definition in state law. It's not just whoever you want. And so we would require anyone who wants that to have them sign the appropriate paperwork to declare them as their domestic partner. But it would be reasonable in 2020 to acknowledge that not all families are the nuclear family of 1960, and so domestic partners are eligible to be covered under the health insurance. I've added the language for the flexible spending accounts that we've already discussed. And then the last one is that some benefit, this doesn't apply to anyone right now, but theoretically, we could have a benefit eligible employee who has a spouse who, through whom they get health insurance. If that was the case, then they just wouldn't get anything. I am currently in that position right now. I get health insurance through my wife, but because of my manager's contract with you, I get $4,000 a year. I think it would actually be fair for, let's say, future employees to take that out of my contract and instead just put that into the policy and keep the amount the same. It would have a net budget effect of zero. But I don't think the manager should be the only person to get this benefit. I think it should be open to everyone.
So yeah, they get the perks regardless of whether they use the program or not.
Exactly. If they took the health insurance, then they would not get the perk because they're getting health insurance. And if they don't get health insurance, then they get stipend. And to be clear, this is about savings to the town about $11,000 a year.
Yeah.
They don't take health insurance, so the town's still coming out ahead here.
Sounds
Yeah,
good to me.
that all looks good to me. Yeah. I don't see anything.
I make a motion to adopt and sign the October 5th, 2020 version of the personnel policy.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded to adopt and sign the October 5th, 2020 version of the personnel policy. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, Hill Rest Cemetery. We have a lot 256 that would like to be purchased.
I'm gonna make a motion to authorize the town manager to sell lot 256 in Hillrest Cemetery to Barbara and Alan Graff.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the town manager to sell lot 256 in the Hill Rest Cemetery to Alan and Barbara Graff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Guess we're on the town manager's report.
Moving right along. All right, so some major emphasis of the last 2 weeks. I've been trying to recruit a public works employee. I've had unfortunately 2 applicants in a row, both offered it to both of them. One of them declined it and one of them stopped answering my calls. So I don't know why you would apply for a job if you intend not to take it. It's frustrating. We're advertising again. I've had a few more people tell me, that there are interested people out there. So I'd really love to get another employee for winter. We really need it. So, working on that. I have come up with, I started rough drafts of the bid specifications of the road work that we discussed at the September 28th meeting, and I am planning to put this on the agenda for your October 19th meeting. And then lots of setup and breakdown for those 2 Pointy Head Campground planning board meetings. Some minor projects going around. I have been continuing to meet with school staff to discuss specific calls, recommendations that need to be made to have students in there. I've been attending the Down East COVID-19 task force meetings, working with Jessica on some Tremont Halloween plans that I think are coming together really nicely. We're talking about sort of a scavenger hunt on the week leading up to Halloween for folks as an alternative to trick-or-treating, so that if they aren't doing trick-or-treating this year, there is something that they can do. So we hope to have some more information out there soon about this plan. I have my check-in with Kevin. I received a preliminary load rating diagram for the wharf from Greg Johnston that takes into account the latest upgrade to the wharf that Charles Bradley did, and that gives us the capacity to handle the trucks on there, so we don't have to throw the trucks off the dock, which was going to be a major issue if that was the case. We don't think we need to do that anymore. I advertised for the comprehensive plan task force members. As you just heard, I've been working with Misha Maitar on the Sealco fish ladder planning. Drafted those personnel policy revisions. I confirmed that the state did finally post that no parking signage on Carter Drive around Lighthouse Road. You've probably seen it. I've been working with a representative from NBI Hospital. They have asked if they could have a flu shot clinic here at the town office. And so that is scheduled for end of next week, October 15th. And if it's good weather, then it'll be outside, and if it's bad weather, then they'll have it. I attended the League of Towns meeting, got the materials together, or getting materials together for the surplus property sale. I've been doing the Keep Maine Healthy grant reporting paperwork. I have my monthly check-in with our code enforcement officer. I've been drafting the FY22 budget, and I am planning for our annual snowplow driver meeting. Office staff has been busy receiving that payment for that tax acquired property, and with all property tax payments still coming in. Of course, now our big shift in focus has been to absentee ballots. Those are now ready at the town office. If any of you want to vote absentee, you can come in and do it. You can request it to be mailed to you, either one. Jan is working on putting in those audit entries. The audit is on the town side is done. They're working on the school side. Hopefully we'll have some final audit book for you in the next month or two. And then Jesse has been extremely busy with Pointy Head. Public Works projects, the big focus right now is getting those trucks ready for winter. Troy also helped set up and break down for those two planning board meetings. We had a windstorm, or a couple windstorms, and so a number of signs and trees were knocked down that Troy's putting back up. And then he's working on some ditching work on Turner Road. Our harbor master had track cleanup at the town office, and then lots of dock cleanup. He's preparing for his float fall haul out. He prepared for and attended a harbor committee meeting. He issued work use permits. He's been helping Troy take trucks up for fall service, and then also just getting the trucks ready themselves, including helping repair the hydraulic line on truck 1. He's had to resolve some mooring issues. He did some work on the ferry terminal floats. He's had a few transient float users responded to issues related to those windstorms. He's had a never-ending stream of parking issues, and then he did manage to sneak into vacation amid all of that. Over the next couple of weeks, my major focus is continuing on with the Down East COVID-19 task force. I'll be preparing my September invoice for the Keep Maine Healthy grant. This week and next week, I'll be attending the MMA annual convention virtually, so I'm a lot of Zoom meetings over the course of the next 2 weeks. The office will be closed next Monday for the holiday. Excuse me. I'll be meeting with the Hancock County Planning Commission next Tuesday, and like I said, there'll be that flu shot clinic at the town office, October 15th, 1 to 3 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely need to get some help in the town garage here as quickly as possible. It's getting late, it's getting
If you
crunch
go to-
time here.
You can look at any of the post offices, there's notes
Yep.
on the board. It's
Yeah, I know.
It's,
I mean, we're servicing our Sanders right now.
Yeah, no, I know, it could happen any minute, so,
I mean, I'm gonna have,
Plows are all serviced, ready to go.
yeah.
I think I can ask Mark to come down one of these days.
Yeah.
So,
You have to steal somebody if we want anybody good.
believe me, I'm trying.
You gotta do those, follow them into work in another town.
Yeah.
All right, suggestions for the next meeting? Next meeting date?
Go for it, Mackenzie.
I'll make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 5 p.m. at the town office.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 5 p.m. at the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Good. Oh, you?
That's the way it is.